right, guys, welcome back to another video. Hope everyone had a great weekend. If you jumped into Call of Duty, hope you're enjoying the game. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. I've played some zombies, I played some multiplayer. Haven't started the campaign yet, but I definitely will soon, as I've seen only good things about the campaign. One of the better campaigns I'm reading in the last number of years for Call of Duty. So we'll talk a bit about that, but we'll also talk about some other stuff here, like Xbox and Microsoft owning many multi-billion-dollar franchises now in gaming, which is crazy to think about with all their acquisitions and lots of other games selling well. But before we continue, if you do enjoy daily game and news and content, make sure to hit that subscribe, share the video, like the video, and let's jump right into it. So we'll start off here, and we're going to talk about Xbox, Microsoft owning 20 billion franchises that generated over $1 billion. Obviously, with the Activision Blizzard acquisition, this has been a major part of that. They're trying to expand out to more places to bring in as much revenue as possible, getting games like Diablo and World of Warcraft, all those franchises from Activision, Call of Duty, of course. Those are going to be huge for Xbox in order to be able to have revenue with the rising development costs that we are seeing in the AAA space to be able to continue to go out and make video games. Because, I mean, this year has been just the proof that all we need to see in terms of what is happening within this industry. There's a lot of talk is gaming going down. I don't believe that whatsoever. I believe actually the numbers are showing that gaming is completely healthy and fine right now, although there are lots of layoffs and there are lots of closures and games canceled. I think honestly the industry is just kind of getting back to normal since the major inflation that hit it with COVID and everything, and people in these companies ramping up and the management thinking that was going to last forever, and clearly it has not. So people are just getting back to normal, to regular life, and gaming is kind of shrinking back down. And the other side of things here is that like development costs have just gotten so high, and it's hard to be able to get a good return on investment. And there's crazy expectations for games to do very well. It's not just about making a profit, it's about making a huge profit so that the investors are happy and all that type of stuff. And we've kind of seen that just not be so great this year. But Microsoft and Xbox are in a phenomenal position going forward in gaming. I think they are in the best position right now when you're comparing it to PlayStation at the very least, because of the amount of IPs that they have and because of the amount of access people have to their games. And they put out their report here for their 2024 annual letter from Satya Nadella. Talked about a lot of things. We talked about exclusivity in the video that I did put out yesterday. So if you want to see that, go check that out. But he also says this: we are bringing great games to more people on more devices with our acquisition of Activision Blizzard King, which closed October 2023. We've added hundreds of millions of players to our ecosystem. We now have 20 franchises that have generated over $1 billion in lifetime revenue, from Candy Crush, which mobile, that's another massive place that they are going to expand out to, even with just like the Xbox mobile store that we've been hearing about and is going to be released. So that is a huge win for them on that side. Diablo, Halo, World of Warcraft, or just Warcraft, they say here, Elder Scrolls, and Gears of War. So they have multiple franchises here that are doing incredible things here in terms of being able to bring in a ton of money for Xbox and Microsoft. And that's their business side of things. They gain from that. But from the consumer gamer side of things, why this matters is that there's always these stupid discussions about Xbox is going away and they're going to get out of gaming, or they're going to just be completely destroyed by PlayStation or their competitors, all the console war stuff that you do see. But the reality of the situation is Xbox is growing. I think they're in the better position going forward. And I'm not just saying that because I'm an Xbox fan and that's my preferred place to play, but just by looking at everything that they do have, and even the ability to put a game like Call of Duty into Xbox Game Pass and be very successful with that, is something that will bode well for the future for people who are in the Xbox ecosystem. So it's pretty big, and we'll see if they continue to grow in a positive way as more of their big games do come out. And obviously there are games that we don't even know have been announced yet or anything like that. So it's going to continue to grow. And another game that is doing very well, which is a game that I'm very excited for. I really enjoyed Sonic Generations when that game first came out. I believe it was 2011 or something like that. It was taking you from classic Sonic to modern Sonic. It had some really, really great gameplay in it. It was just a phenomenal game. And they're bringing it back here, but they're adding Sonic and Shadow Generations which is just giving you Shadow with some new moves and some new content and everything. And it's already sold very, very well. And I'm not that surprised because was a very popular game when it launched, and now you're getting a better version of it. But they've already hit 1 million copies for Sonic's X Shadow Generations, and it just launched on October 25th. Which Sonic has kind of seen a revitalization over the last few years. Think about the movies. Think about Sonic Frontiers, which I thought was a very nice change up to the series. I think it's a very fun game, and I hope they continue to add to that. Now you're seeing here where previously Sonic had gone through a rough spot. They were releasing very mediocre to bad games for a while, but I think Sonic may be back, which is just an overall good thing. So 1 million sales, or surpassed 1 million sales for Sonic X Shadow Generation. So very successful there. Now let's talk Starfield. Because Starfield, when it launched, it still is. And even when the DLC came out, it is very mixed as to whether you like it or you don't. And you could apply this and say that it is just fanboys and the people who hate it are just fanboys. And I would not agree with that, because Starfield, I think, is a great game. I really enjoyed it. It was one of my favorite games. And the DLC came out. I was very meh on the DLC. I didn't think it was that phenomenal. You had a lot of people arguing that the only reason why people were hating on the DLC was because they just don't like Starfield, or they're haters of Starfield, which I don't agree with. But there are definitely things in Starfield that need to be improved if they were to make a second one. For example, I think just like the space travel and the loading screens and all of that, I would love to see that taken away and have a more seamless experience. Some of the quests, especially in the DLC, I found were kind of boring, and I would hope that there would be a better quest when they do come out with their third or their second DLC, whenever that does drop. But there's also some amazing stuff in Starfield that can completely be built upon. Of course, just the amazing world that they built and the details in that world, the exploration factors of that world, always stumbling upon new and different things. That stuff's awesome. But Starfield 2 would be a very, very interesting thing to see how they would improve on this game. And they talk about this here. This is according to the ex-Bethesda designer speaking to Video Gamer. And it's Bruce Nesmith. And he says that the potential of a Starfield sequel will be one hell of a game. Which I think Starfield right now is one hell of a game, but just imagine after they've learned about everything that they did wrong with the first one, how crazy the second one would be. It says here, I'm looking forward to Starfield 2. I think it's going to be one hell of a game because it will address many of the things people are saying. We're quite there. We're missing a little bit. It will be able to take what's in there right now and put in a lot of new stuff and fix a lot of those problems. And he adds here, when we built Skyrim, we had the tremendous advantage of Oblivion, which had the tremendous advantage of Morrowind. All that stuff was there for us, which is absolutely true. I mean, Oblivion is a phenomenal game, but I think for a lot of people, Skyrim is the pinnacle of that series. But they had 2 games under their belt already that they could look at and see what they could do better. And they really hit the mark there with Skyrim. So I definitely see what he means there. Yes, Bethesda has a lot of years under their belt and a lot of resources to be able to make these games, but it was a brand new IP, a brand new adventure for them. So Starfield 1 is just going to help them get better. Continues here and says, all we had to do was continue to improve and add new stuff in. We didn't have to start from the ground up. If we'd had to start from the ground up, that would have been another 2 or 3 years of development time. So I'd be very excited to see what they do with Starfield 2. That's obviously going to be very, very long ways away, because you have to think about Elder Scrolls 6, Fallout 5, and then maybe Starfield 2. So it's not going to be for the very least 10, 15 years, probably something along those lines, before we see anything like that. And they're still also making DLC for Starfield. But I wonder if they even have Starfield 2 in mind, or if they're just going to continue to progress off of what they've currently made from Starfield and then add that in as DLC for the future. It will be interesting to see. I'm going to play through every DLC that they put out because I do enjoy the game. I do hope the next one is better than the one that just dropped. Although I did finish it and play through it. It was fun, but there's definitely some things that they could have done much, much better. All right, let's talk NVIDIA, because NVIDIA has overtaken Apple as the world's most valuable company, and they're on the verge here, I think in early 2025, to be announcing their 5,000 GPUs, their 5,000 series GPUs. The 5090 is going to be the next best, biggest GPU that you can go out there and they have now surpassed Apple. It says that the technology giant leapfrogged Apple as its market value reached 3.53 trillion. And the companies have traded the crown back and forth this week, with NVIDIA falling back to 3.47 trillion as Apple closed trading at 3.52 trillion. But now they are up there just ahead of them. They say NVIDIA's surging market value is being attributed to NVIDIA's status as a leading provider for computing parts required in the development of AI. And more companies are now embracing artificial intelligence in the everyday tasks, and demand remains strong for the NVIDIA chips. And AI is going to be massive. We just think a look at what is going to be happening here with the PS5 Pro when that does launch. AI upscaling with their PSSR, huge, probably the most important part of the PlayStation 5 Pro to get games to run better. It's not just the sheer extra power in the PS5 Pro, because the reality is same CPU, higher end GPU, but PSSR is the game changer. And going into the next generation as well, it's going to be the AI stuff that is going to be massive for these big, powerful consoles. And they're going to have to sell that to people, because if these consoles are all coming in at $700, it's going to have to be a major leap here from what you have right now with the Series X, or again with the PlayStation 5 Pro. And I mean, the consoles aren't working with NVIDIA. We'll see what Xbox does here, who they go with for their chip. I don't think it will be NVIDIA, but it will. The 5090 and the 5080 and the 5070, those are going to be the next benchmark comparisons, you could say. When we think about the next gen consoles, you always see people trying to compare it to PCs. Well, if the 50 series GPUs are out there on the market and people have been using them for a while, you're going to see, well, how does this next gen console compare to that? And you're going to get a good idea as to exactly how powerful they are going to be. So pretty exciting there, as we are getting closer to the announcement for the next generation NVIDIA GPUs. Another very successful game, Deep Silver, which this is great to see. Dead Island 2 has now surpassed 10 million players across all platforms, and they're also adding PS5 Pro enhancements soon, because obviously there's going to be a lot of games that are going to try to take advantage of that. But 10 million players across all platforms. So Dead Island 2 is a success. So I'll end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.